I worked for a United States congressman from Michigan, and then I was a lobbyist and ended my career as president of a utility company. So I went and I became ordained when I was 67. So I went to seminary at 60, and at seminary I was the fourth oldest guy in my class, so it was a new trend. Oh, it's a remarkable journey. Mine is really 40 years long. After I came out of the Army, I had the first inklings to become a priest. And so in 1974, I became a postulant for the priesthood out of the Diocese of Western Michigan. That's the first step in becoming a priest. Later that year, the guy I was working for was elected to Congress, and we came to Washington, and it was my hope to do a couple of years and then go to the Virginia seminary. Well, my son was born, my career took off, I had a mortgage, and the rest, as they say, is history. So I resigned my postulancy in 1979 with the pledge to the bishop that I would stay active in the church, and believing that I had a deal with God that I would be a good Christian. It turns out you don't make deals with God. But what happened was in 1999, I was at my boyhood church in Muskegon delivering the eulogy for my father. And while I was in the pulpit, looking at the place where I had been baptized and so on, it hit me like a ton of bricks where the Holy Spirit said, "Are you ready now?" And although I wasn't sure I was ready, I did it. And as we say in the priesthood, you're not called, you're hauled. So I was chasing the money, I was chasing the power, I was chasing the influence, and I walked in the fast lane. And I enjoyed it while doing it, but I came to the same conclusion: that's not life. They say, well, how could you go from being a lobbyist to being a priest? I said, well, it's pretty much the same. I mean, you're trying to convince people of stuff they're not sure they want to believe in. So it all comes together, though, in a person who gets ordained late in life, where all of life's experiences and all of that we've done and I've done combine to form me as a priest. When you and I were kids, David, it was the end of the World War II, the end of the Depression. People had a reason to be in church, and they were in there. They were exploding at the walls. There were so many people in church. Now, the Episcopal Church loses 100 members a day. And I think when you look at history, the ebbs and flows of the church, this is not as unusual as it may seem, but it seems troubling because of the fact that there's so much hurt in the world, and then to have the church be sliding backward when it's probably needed more now than ever is troubling. And of course, the church's job is to be involved in that in the real world, so that things move in a more right direction. That includes race relations and stewardship of the environment, which is God's creation. And we are duty bound to be involved in those issues. And I know my own church is very active. I have several members of my parish who are in social services, so they brief me all the time about what's going on in the community and how dire it is in some places, particularly in the winter months. We have the homeless shelter at Salvation Army, and another home for men down here that one of my parishioners runs. And the need is real. I have one parishioner who involved in social services who coined the term abandonminiums. And this is where homeless people go to sleep. They're not heated, they're covered maybe, or partially covered, and they sleep in these abandoned places. And we have to try to reach out to them and feed them and keep them warm. And one of the things that because I've always been such a strong Episcopalian, I actually had a fear when I went to seminary that I would learn stuff that would shake my faith, or that with all the problems of the world, and being an active priest and seeing it firsthand would shake my faith. The opposite is true. My faith has grows 10 times, 1,000 times every day. And it is that faith that keeps me going and keeps me wanting to introduce that faith to others. Not only introduce in a newness, but with my own congregation, to create a depth of that feeling, which has been my mission here at Christ Church. But the matter of life that we have to get a little old and have some aches and pains before we understand all this. But the wisdom of later years do allow you to see the larger picture. I've come to learn that it's the value of life and the value of caring for people who are victims of a tsunami or a war, or people you'll never even meet lands far away, plus people in your own community. That's the value of human life. And that's where the church has to reside.